So I read this thing the other day on Substack. It was a long thing about the new feminist teachers in I suppose in high schools, and that's a significant factor because you know who, as the article says, as the post says, they are telling their boy students, demonizing their boy students, calling them names, calling them toxically masculine, and all that sort of stuff. Um, and and again, it's like my issues with wokeness. I'm waiting to encounter it. I have been told it is this awful scourge on us, on free thinking, etc. And I'm really waiting to encounter it. And I do get out a bit. I do work in the public in highly competitive and fraught situations often. So yeah, and when it does occur to me, I'll let you know. But this is my thing. I glanced at earlier. A young journalist was cowered by Maggie Thatcher in her heyday when he was in her presence. It seemed to me that it seems to me that there's a cultural agreement around fear that it's an institutional thing, but that this young man is somehow indoctrinated towards being fearful. And I have been in situations, especially with authority figures, where you can see them trying that on. They practice it, and they're very good at finding who is susceptible to it. That has been my experience in the world of work. And I'd also say that very seldom has that been rooted in feminism, that behavior. The feminism may have co-opted what is toxic masculinity, in a sense. An Arab American laughed at John Kennedy recently, the Louisiana senator, I think he is. Never was man that deserved derision more, but laugh she did, as he tried the bullying his office grants him. It seems sometimes that's why these people seek this office and win the office, because they want to bully, and their constituencies like bullies in office. Bullying is very consistent with his type of republicanism. Today I read a long tract, this is another, about the new feminist teacher terrorizing their young male students by demonizing their toxic masculinity. The writer does not define either masculinity nor its toxic version, so I have to claim a kind of ignorance. I know what my definition is, I just don't know what his was. I was in middle school in the late 60s, finishing high school in the early 70s, so it is possible I avoided this brigade of witches. And I didn't encounter them either between then and now, ever, anywhere. I have encountered a few bullying men, but some, and this unhappy few made up for the rest. I have encountered toxic behavior against women, and I couldn't say it was masculine because I live in a culture almost completely empty of how I understand the masculine. So, the terrorizing feminists might be misguided, confusing boys with toxic tendencies with masculinity. Bad behavior by men is catching, manifest most usually in a kind of rigidity, it seems. These instances of male culture are funny unless they are forced on you, and there are lots of them, myriad. I was hustled off by a friend at 12 years old. Alien I was, in America, English raised, and Trinidadian. At the age of 12, those are the places that I had lived. And he schooled me in the realities of American boydom, especially as one related to girls. A strange list of must-dos that made me laugh, as I was already a seducer. Ah, well. There were the clothes, the gifts, a future of needing silly but expensive cars, a lot of superficials like diamonds that drove girls and eventually women mad, a future of competition and one-upmanship, often joying in the humiliation of other men. And as I was destined to be short rather than tall, much about a hopeless future to which I must resign myself. Luckily, I didn't listen. Had I'm pretty dang sure I might have turned toxic at the futility and frustration inherent in being a US male. It might be the times, but I knew a lot of whining, woman-blaming men back then too. Some sat in the same rooms I had with the same teachers, seething at how they were feeling slighted. They had fathers very often who specialized in humiliation of sons. The notion of hurting people was freshly before me in my crowd. I saw these fathers in action. They didn't miss a beat. They treated sons badly, mostly moving seamlessly from workplace to dinner at home in their tyranny. There is a trope in the circles to claim boys behave badly because of absent fathers. Watching fathers as a kid showed no evidence of this. Their absence would have been welcome. Going back 2 generations of dysfunctional men exonerates, for me, these horrible feminists, and it was pre-them, like me. Another facet, when a minority woman says men are like this, white men do say, do this or did this. What prevents any of them, us, saying, yep, we did and do, we do. Saying we didn't and don't is just peevish. The rub, I guess, is taking it personally. Why would I, a white man, do that? I have confessed a lot of inordinate luck. I can never know how lucky, how rare is this luck. That is the nature of luck. I guess this is the same with being unlucky. My biggest luck is definitely never feeling oppressed or limited or persecuted by others. Any bad times on my path were at the very least self-inflicted or fate. Denmark is not a prison to me. Only thinking makes it so. I haven't run into these school teachers. Let's say I am sure they exist, that they have looked out over a classroom and seen and said what they are said to have said. I'm not there, and I don't remember like incidents. Maybe it is part of this wokeness and its cancellations and oppressions I have also not experienced. But I'm sure that they happen. People tell me they happen. What I have experienced many times is men, friends, slumping down on the bar stool and telling me about this or that bitch. Let's say I have been hearing this for 50 years, starting with the dad. But in his case, I knew the woman and I knew he lied. I would say that if you grow into manhood by the Judeo-Christian Western rules, you are going to hear toxic often. If you are strong enough to resist the insolence of office, the proud man's contumely, the oppressor's wrong, the spurns that patient merit of the unworthy takes, all man-on-man afflictions, you might be enough, uniquely you, to survive the pangs of disprized love that a woman might bring. It may be the bitches aren't oppressing you. It might be your boys.